Got to start off with a story from Old Man Cormac.
Old man Cormac. Well,
my
my
hammies hurt.
my hammies is yelling and screaming. They're no. Yesterday is almost everybody that I seem to know who's celebrating their Father's Day celebrates it by going out and doing yard work.
I was there. I did that too. Oh
Exactly.
man, I did a lot of yard work.
You got a lot of yard to do some work. We have.
I was sore afterward.
So the great thing about the previous owner, and great thing is subjective term here, but is the fact that they decided to, in the front yard, rather than do mulch, they used rock. And it's not, it's
did they put down weed abatement below the rock, said rock?
Not, if they did, maybe about a decade ago, and it's deteriorated.
It's all gone.
And,
yeah, right.
But I mean, we're talking about like rock. It's like
Capital
rock.
R, rock.
It's rock you don't want to walk across. And it's not like our neighbors got rock, but they've got like this almost, I don't know, reddish kind of like lava rock type thing, like a pumice stone type deal.
Yeah.
And so theirs is easy to move and all this other stuff. No, I mean, we don't really want the rock in our front yard, but right now it's just like, yeah, we've been here a year. What do we want to do with this thing? It's just like, give it another year.
Yeah. Kick that can down the road.
We'll be here a while. We'll keep kicking it down the road for a little bit longer. So I was like all hunched over yesterday, pulling weeds out from between all of the rocks. And then I decided that today was the day to say, hey, why don't you, after a long day of, and walking around Ford Field yesterday and just like doing a lot of walking, a lot of stairs and all this other stuff yesterday, I decided this morning was a good day to try to go from 0 to breaking some all-time record of being on the rowing machine. So it's just like, like, hey, I haven't done the rowing machine in like forever. Why don't I just go and get on it?
Do a marathon.
Exactly. Yeah. Do it for an hour. And then
I did that once on a mountain bike. It had been a decade of no mountain biking. I'm like, I'm going to go to the top of this mountain. I threw up at the top of said mountain. Yeah, for sure.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. So it's just
I made it though.
You're like, why?
Yeah. I used to be able to do this just fine. Now won't be any different. Yeah.
Yeah. My body feels fine, What does age matter? No.
It doesn't even cross your mind because you're still the same person you always were. You're not getting older, right? You were in denial for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Now my Achilles are burning. My hamstrings are burning. I'm sure tomorrow something else that I didn't discover that I had as part of my anatomy is going to be burning as well.
Whoa now. Hey.
Well,
so
come on now.
This whole getting older thing, I think I could pretty much speak for everyone in most circumstances and say, don't do it. Right?
Yeah,
this is not something that
you don't do old.
Yeah. Don't get old.
Just don't get old. Okay.
Yeah. I had a mishap over the weekend and I guess I should come clean about it. You may be able to see if you're watching this on YouTube. You see this little,
yes.
Well, I don't know, the Harry Potter scar that I have now on my forehead.
Well,
any guesses?
At first I was wondering, hey, did I just not notice that was a scar from, you remember? Because for some reason, just the other day, I guess because I was like looking for a used mountain bike. And so then for some reason, since my search on my Google search was about used mountain bikes, it came up, Instagram wanted to show me every like mountain bike fiasco that happened. And for some reason that took me back to your mountain bike fiasco, which was
this is nowhere near as bad as that was, right? Yeah. So this did not happen on a bike. This did not happen during yard work. This happened completing phase 2 of construction at the Troxel HQ. which I'm happy to say phase 2 is done. We got the apartment finished. We got father-in-law moved in, but like final touches up on a ladder on the curtain rod, trying to reuse the old curtain rod for a new purpose, like the old drape style, pull the cable curtains, and trying like, oh, maybe we can get all that junk out of there and just use it as like a regular curtain rod. So I'm like trying to pry this one thing off with a screwdriver, a flat tip screwdriver. I literally like stabbed myself in the forehead with a flat tip screwdriver when it slipped off of the metal. Oh, terrible, man.
Well done.
Yeah. I mean, bullseye.
So if by chance you're listening to this, but you want to see Evan's new edition,
send everyone to look.
You have to go to the YouTube channel and check out his new Harry Potter scar. Well, although it's a little off to, it's more centralized. So
it's central and straight. Yes, it's not the zigzag Zorro look.
You were giving yourself a splitting headache.
Right. I didn't get it from squinting too hard in my old age, which could have been
nice.
Could have been a cause. Right. Well, hey, we just got back from the AIA conference, I don't know, in the past, a few days ago. So we thought we should do
back to
switching glasses. Put the higher power glasses.
No, just for some reason, my brand new glasses, again, you'll have to go to the video because I have brand new glasses and old cheapy reading glasses. And the brand new glasses are great, but for some reason they say they are work zone, workspace glasses. Anyway, and it's just simply for reading and having that clear peripheral vision. Yeah, there's nothing clear. But
okay, so having worn glasses my entire life, unlike you, they do take getting used to. You have to commit. You have to commit to the new glasses for a few days before you just write them off. My wife's in the same boat. She's got this pair of glasses, brand new. She's like, I hate them. I'm not going to wear them. And I'm just like, you got to give them a chance because you've been used to the readers for a while, and so to actually go to a prescription set of glasses.
You stretch that word a while.
I know you. Quite a bit. Know. I know how long. I can only say this because I've been wearing glasses a while. Is that better?
Mine's more like a while.
Yeah.
Like, you mean, let's truncate that. Like, I think my eyes started going where I needed readers. Maybe like just before COVID.
Yeah, you're pretty lucky, man. I mean, I remember you wearing them like during the tenure of this podcast, and that's quite a bit shorter than even the tenure of this podcast.
I think it was the New York AIA convention. Since we're about to talk about the AIA convention, it was the It was the New York AIA convention where I actually saw a pair of readers that I liked and bought them as like, I'm going to commit to buying a pair of readers at you and I were at one of the art museums. I can't remember which one. And I was just like, ooh, those are cool. And bought those. And that was like the first official time that I accepted the fact that I needed readers in public.
Well, how long was it between the purchase and the actual wearing?
I actually literally started wearing them. Like,
you just went straight to it.
I went straight to them because I guess another thing is that, so those first pair that I bought were Wayfarer style, and I've pretty much bought Wayfarer style ever since. And these are, I should give these to you for your new Harry Potter scar. They're more rounded glasses, and
they are more rounded,
and I have to get used to that as well.
Yeah.
It's a different style. I wanted to get some Archispecs.
Yeah, you did it. Look at you.
And they're green, transparent. They're weird.
A little bit weird is nice. It's a good trait for architectural glasses.
Absolutely nothing about me says weird. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Oh, wait.
Back that up. Rewind.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah. Redo those. everything about me screams weird. So yeah. So yeah.
Well, we're all weird in different ways, Cormac. So don't feel like an outcast.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to say that I'm weird in every way.
Yeah. Well, we just, like we said, we were in San Francisco for many days, and the San Francisco AIA conference, another, I would say, successful
Oh
conference,
yeah. Yeah.
weather-wise. Somebody
Weather.
actually said every time I go to an AIA conference, the weather's bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Let's
I
see.
can't even remember a
I
bad
don't
weather AIA conference.
honestly know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, let's see, Philly, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, great weather, but it's Atlanta.
New
It was hot.
York.
We skipped
Yeah.
out on Orlando. I didn't go to
Right.
the last Chicago one. DC was great weather. I'm just like rattling off like all of the ones that I can remember.
Well, and
Vegas was
the
great.
last Chicago one, which is the most recent one,
Yeah.
last year was great. We went
Oh
on that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
riverboat tour,
Oh,
and it
that was
was
fantastic.
incredible weather.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like absolutely beautiful.
Right. So I
So
don't know what they were talking about, and I thought San Francisco was great. I mean, there was
the
nothing to
what
complain
was
about.
it? The last day, like when I was driving you to the airport in Chicago,
Hmm.
it started to rain. That was literally
Which
it.
was
So like, I
which
mean,
was fine.
everybody was leaving, right? So
Right. Yeah.
I honestly can't think of one. I mean, Florida's Florida, so you're going to get Florida weather. So I honestly, maybe if that was like the only one they were at and didn't expect that in the middle of the afternoon in Central Florida, it was not going to rain. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
It's Central Florida. It's going to rain. Like clockwork,
Yep.
you can literally set your watch to it and it'll rain, but it'll only rain for like maybe 15 minutes and then it'll be perfect weather. That's usually the time you go to Disney and then like line up properly at the lines and everybody flocks to I'm doing a PSA for Disney now for some reason.
I think the PSA for Disney is go to Disney and stand in a line. That's what it sounds like.
Go to
Or many
Disney,
lines.
go to Disney, ride all of the rides that aren't packed. And then the ones that you really want to ride, wait till around 5 in the afternoon. This is, again, Central Florida. It's going to start getting really dark. It's going to get stormy. It's going to rain. Heavy rain, too, for all of about 15 minutes. And everybody's going to start scurrying for the gates. Like, oh, no, my day's ruined. Okay, bye. Because guess what? You guys got out of the line that I want to get into. I did that like Space Mountain. I rode Space Mountain so many times because there was no line.
This is the Disney travel hacks segment with Cormac. Right.
There you go. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Although I would take some Disney money.
I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah. If you're interested, give us a call, Disney. So I also, well, maybe we should just start off and say the overall kind of value of going to an AIA conference that as we see it, so that we can have that little preamble in here, because I think there's a lot of people out there who don't go to the show. I think there were 15,000 architects at the show, or 50. I'll just say 15,000 people. Definitely not all architects, but 15,000 was the number that I saw in the follow-up email from AIA. And then I saw that there were booths in the expo hall. And so just those are some big round numbers, but I think not the most well-attended conference on architecture, but pretty good. And it felt like there was a lot of architects descending on San Francisco all at one time. Yeah. Everybody walking around from Union Square to Moscone had the 823 badge for the most part, and it was very busy. But what are the overall kind of general feeling about why even go to a conference like this from your perspective?
Well, I'll get the sarcasm out of the way first. Is that definitely as we were coming into town, both starting from the airport through the BART ride in and kind of debarking, and you just saw more and more people dressed in black. It literally looked like we were at a cult convention. It was just like, yeah.
Well, you sent the meme of the the picture of people at a funeral and then the architects on a job walk on a construction site.
Yeah.
And there was no difference in
Dude,
the way
exactly.
that, right.
No, but so the value, first and foremost, one of the great values that over the years, and one of the reasons why I and we have always gone to these and attended these, is the networking value. Not just networking with our peers, networking with manufacturers, networking with also, we got a chance to meet and talk to a lot of tech side of people, more so because of your relationship with on the tech side of things, but we got to see a lot of what's coming next, which I thought was great. But, networking is really important in architecture for a variety of different reasons. I don't know how many people I've met through the architectural community, the AIA community, the conference community, that when I have friends who are saying, I'm moving to San Francisco or I'm moving to California, do you know anybody there that might be hiring? And so being able to kind of dive into my network of people that I've met throughout the years has actually helped a lot of people get a job. And I think that what's interesting about that is just being able to go to my network and ask them, hey, I'm not asking you to hire them. I'm asking you, do you know of anybody and stuff like that? And just, I'm shocked, to be quite honest with you. And yes, contrary to popular belief of me and you sitting here now for the past, 11 years talking about architecture, I'm pretty introverted. And I don't naturally, I'm not going to walk up, hey, Cor Phelan, how are you doing? Heaven, those kind of things. And I have built a huge network of people that I know. And somebody was like, hey, I'm moving here. Oh yeah, I know somebody there. Check him out. Or, I'm going here, or I'm going to visit this, or I'm going to do that. And for some reason, I have this mental Rolodex of tons of people. And so honestly, I would say that the thing that draws me to these conventions is the networking opportunities that we have.
Yeah. I think the word I would use is community. It's like relationships. It's networking sounds kind of,
that does.
Sounds a little bit weird. And I think that even most people
early 2000s.
Well, and it sounds kind of like salesy or something. I don't know. It's just one of the, but it's not you don't mean it like that. I know you don't mean it like that. I think one of the funny things about you finding the value in the AI show, and I'll just rephrase, I'm going to paraphrase you, is that other people find value in sending you to the show. They get the value out of it.
There you go.
When they're looking for a job or a firm, they come talk to you because you go to these events and you've built the network. So other people benefit from it. That's pretty funny, but
I've built the
I know what you mean. You built the community, they profit. Yeah, that's how it works.
Why don't I profit? I want to profit. Well, I need to start, having them cut a check every time.
You need a finder's fee.
There you go.
Yeah. You need a finder's fee. Yeah. I'll talk to you if, here's my fee. So totally agree on the networking side of things. Again, this year and last year were different than my previous times going, because for me, it was being in one booth the whole time on the expo hall floor at the tech booth. And a lot of people are coming to visit, and a lot of people I was recording the whole time. I did a bunch of interviews for the Peopleverse podcast, which you could look up. And if you want to start watching those episodes come out, just check out and subscribe to Peopleverse. But the idea there was that I'm there because the work that we do at Tech is very much surrounded are in the middle of these two communities of building product manufacturers who are the ones exhibiting in the show, and then the architects who are coming to visit and potentially interact with those people on the show, on the expo hall floor. And so it's the perfect convergence for the company that I work for. And so I've also built this incredible network of community members from the old Architalks blogging and Twitter, the things that how we met originally back in the day. And that's just continued, and it's expanded because people know people, and they make introductions, and people are there. I mean, that to me is the biggest value, is that it's where the people are. And there aren't too many times when you can go visit that many people in your industry in one place. Like the other conference that you and I have gone to repeatedly is the Monterey Design Conference, which is much smaller, more focused on design. So it's very much like the architects kind of a vibe there. And it's totally amazing setting. It's never in a big city. It's always at the same place in Monterey on the beach, and very different. But this one is like everyone's there for the most part, everyone who's anyone. And if you don't go, you're not, you need to be somebody and come next time. But the idea of it is, I think, well, not the idea of it, but just going, and it really is kind of fulfilling to meet up with people. And it is a reunion of sorts for the architectural community. Even for the people who just lurk on the outside, it's a great opportunity to get in and meet people.
So one of the great things, and it's really happened almost every year, I will have met somebody that has been a part of my community for the better part of almost a decade and a half.
And but only online.
Only online. And we have this relationship, this conversation that always happens. And then you meet them in public for the first time. I met, a friend of the show for the very first time, and we've conversed again for like almost 13 years. And I met up with him finally face to face, and it was like just rolled right into a conversation. There was no awkward, no silence, hey, how are you doing, or something. It was just like, hey, finally, this kind of thing. And it was great because and that happened quite a bit over this last one. Is just like I was hanging out with and walking around town and looking at architecture with people that I'd only conversed with kind of through social media, but haven't really met them and haven't really walked around. And it's kind of interesting because then it kind of expands like your understanding of these people a little bit more, because now you're really kind of like learning. Because I'll say that one of the people that I met up with, I had a slightly different impression of the person, only because it seemed like they were a little bit more boisterous, maybe online or something like that. Absolutely not the case. Very grounded, very cool person, just very earthy. It was far more comfortable meeting them in person. And any impression that I may have had just off of like things that they say online or whatever else was completely just like abolished, because it was like, yeah, you're one of our tribe. And that's what was great. And then just other things that I think that I spent a lot of time on the floor on, I can't remember which day it was. I think it was the first day the floor opened. While you were working on the floor, I kind of like walked around and just tried to meet up with people that I had talked to through just manufacturers. Learned a little bit more about some of the materials and things like that. There was an interesting one actually right next to your booth. The Glengarry booth right next to yours was really interesting because there's so many times when we're doing adaptive reuse that we're always looking for a lightweight structural facade solution. And this last project that I did in downtown Baltimore, the existing conditions couldn't support a facade that was greater than, I think, 12 PSF or something crazy. It was just, it was a crazy low amount of weight that it could support. And so we went through a variety of different things and had even looked at thin brick. And at the time, thin brick hadn't caught up to what we really needed to really be kind of a high performance rain screen system. Sure enough, as they're setting up, I'm watching them. I'm like, hey, what's that? And at a private tour is when I don't know if you noticed, but I stopped helping you set up and I just kind of like wandered over there for a second. And
we didn't notice.
And just started chatting with the guys and, hey, talk to me about this. And then it came back. Somebody from my firm was actually there, actually one of our exterior envelope specialists. And it was great to see him because now that I'm in Detroit, I don't get to see, and he was like the principal in charge of this particular project that I'm talking about. And so it's just, I met the Glengarry guys yesterday and I really want to talk to them, but I want to talk to them with you. because I want to have the conversation that you and I have about high performance rain screen systems with these guys so that they can kind of
Mm-hmm.
answer some of the same questions that we always have about some of the systems. It was kind of cool to like
Yeah.
actually be able to do things like that.
Right.
I actually used it somewhat to my advantage for once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a cool opportunity to, if you can do a little bit of homework ahead of time and pick out, because one thing
Yeah.
that definitely happens is when you're walking from here to there, you stop 45
Oh
times
my
meeting
gosh. Yes.
people on the way. Yeah, or you're hungry, or there's a bathroom stop involved, or you need to refill your water bottle, or there's puppies, and there's a puppy petting station, or
Puppies.
there's all these different distractions.
Oh,
Is actually just like using the internet, right? When you're trying to find something. But you could potentially like map out a travel path and do a master class in materials in 1 or 2 days. And you could learn so much for your current projects
yes.
because everybody's there at the right time. They're not scheduling lunch and learn 6 months in advance when it doesn't matter anymore because
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
work for this project. So it's great from a manufacturer standpoint too, because look at all these architects who want to learn about new stuff. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
architects all want to learn about new materials. But what do you do the other 363 days a year, right? That's a question that I like to ask manufacturers because I'm in the
How are
business
you?
of connecting
Exactly.
them to architects at Tech. But this idea of everybody being in the right place at the right time, it actually can work for everybody's
Oh, yeah.
benefit. So it is kind of cool for that too. But I don't think that's why architects really go to the show. I don't think they go for the expo. I think that's just like a side thing that also happens to happen
Yes.
at the show, but it's not the main reason why people go.
So I will say that I did use the AIA's A23 app, and not only gave me like all of the different things that I'd signed up for, but then you could also map out like what manufacturers you want to see, where their booth is, and it'll kind of give you a little interactive map, which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I were to give myself a score of how many of those people did I
You actually
actually
made it too.
see, it's not a very high percentage. If I got to 50%, I would be surprised. Puppies, on the other hand, I got to the puppies.
You,
I got to
that
the
was
puppies.
not on the itinerary, but you
It
did
was
go
not
there.
on the itinerary. We saw the puppies there, and we had to stop. It didn't help that. Let me just say kudos to whoever laid this out. There was the puppy station right next to the mimosa station. I mean,
That works.
mimosas and puppies. How can you go wrong?
Right. There's nothing to complain about there.
Nothing to complain about there. And the guy, because this was actually a porcelain tile manufacturer who was doing the mimosas, and it's actually somebody who's in my current specs for some of the interior finishes. And so I wanted to go over there and just kind of like talk to them ever so briefly. However,
So what you're saying is you got special treatment and it was a 2 mimosa visit.
what was absolutely funny
You're
about
already
that,
in my spec.
yeah, what was absolutely funny about that is this definitely wasn't a special treatment thing, but dude making the mimosas was heavy on the mo and very light on the sasas.
What?
Whatever the hell that just means. Just put it this way, like if this was the glass, and so go to the video, because like if this was the glass, this much of it was the champagne. And I think the orange juice was just for coloring.
Yeah.
And so
It was orange champagne.
It was orange champagne. I mean,
Nice.
they definitely knew their
Well,
audience.
Yeah, well, and people who are having a good time are
Oh my
going
lord.
to have more conversations.
It
Yeah,
was
they're not stupid.
it was so the two longest lines for
Yeah.
these alcoholic beverages, apparently they knew their audience. The alcoholic beverages that were provided out on the floor and the coffee stations. So there was this fantastic, and I'm blanking on the company who was doing those. It was a tech company, but they had hands down the best cappuccinos, second to the place that we went to every morning.
Nice. I saw Enscape had a boot they were serving espresso, I think. I'm not sure that was it or not.
Thank you. That was it. It was hence.
That was it.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about you didn't go to the opening party, but I went to so you talked about something that you got to do that I didn't. You got to actually walk the expo floor. But I got to do something better.
No, please.
It was $100 though.
You didn't pay for it.
I didn't pay for it. Yeah. But still, I heard a range of prices. I'm not sure what the pricing actually was.
Somebody told me that it was like $165. I'm like, I would have been
also heard somebody say it was $35. So I don't know. It was all over the map. Yeah.
I would have been out regardless, but it's just like, oh, you have to pay for it. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So it was at what's the name of it? But it's the Renzo building. Let's just call it that.
Science Center.
Yeah, it's a California Science Center. But there's that may be the name.
There is a technical name that everybody was throwing around. It's like the Renzo building next to the what was it?
It's next to the Herzog and de Meuron, the de Young. Yeah, it's next to that. It's in like Golden Gate Park area, so it's gorgeous spot on the peninsula. And this isn't. I've never been there before. Never been to any of those buildings before. Contrary to my wife saying that we had been there before, I guarantee you I've never been there before. And I was blown away by it because you go into this building and it's like this big roof covering these two spheres. That one's a planetarium, one is like a live exhibit, like a glass sphere that you can wind yourself up Guggenheim style on a ramp that spirals all the way to the top. And so then there's this undulating roof over the top of all of that. That's a green roof planted with portals letting light into the various spaces down below. There's an aquarium in the very bottom. I mean, it's absolutely an incredible resource for the community. So I don't know that there's a lot more to say about it than that. I mean, look it up online. Because you could actually just talk about this forever. It's just one of those things where you're learning. It's an experience. It's capital A architecture. You get to the roof. You watch the sunset over the De Young building across the plaza. It's like, what? Again, it's kind of like your what's not to like about this? There's just it's one of those experiences that I thought was absolutely the perfect way to do an opening night reception in a city at an AIA conference. So they picked the right spot. It was really cool.
This is the second time in a row that I've been there and people are like, oh, are you going to the opening event? How I was told so many times about things that I was missing that they were going to, and just like, oh, you're not going to that? Like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like you actually have to pry yourself away from your projects enough to focus on like figuring the logistics of this out. And not very many people have the time to do that. So I think that is the downside.
And we always go there, although the last 2 years you've gone under a different capacity, but we typically go there in the capacity of press. And we do these recaps. We talk about the event. We actually talk and interview people, which hopefully the fruits of those labors will come out in later episodes. So stay tuned. That's some foreshadowing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I honestly sometimes feel guilty about signing up for anything because of how I'm attending. And so I don't attend, like a lot of times I don't necessarily attend all of these events because I was like getting in there for free. But now I'm learning to myself, it's just like, dude, just go to whatever it is that you go. You'll be paying for it anyway. Membership has its privileges, and so just take care of them.
Right. Right.
But I will say that probably next time I will plan ahead. I will also plan.
And you have an advantage for the next one. Like you have a big advantage for the next one. We can talk about that, down.
That'll be a little bit later, but that one is going to be, yes. So another thing that I thought was great is I love how there's always a air of just these cities that we go to for these events always have this just host of, and on the opening night, you got a chance to see a lot of these architectural masterpieces and all these masterworks kind of like in their natural environment. And I don't know
Mm-hmm,
how
mm-hmm,
many times we learned, the Boda MoMA. And
mm-hmm.
here we are, every time we walked out of the convention center, there it
It's
was
right
right
there.
there. And it
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, this is kind of cool. I mean, it's graced many a book and many a magazine, and to start to see them and then see other things kind of in play, it was actually really cool. And having the time to, and you didn't even actually have the time to like get out and like walk around, because not
All
only
right.
were you working that, but then you had like other kind of engagements, and we had a couple of engagements and stuff. But um, I will say that I ditched out on the Friday, going to the show floor on Friday, and put about 8 miles on my feet and
Mm-hmm.
walked around and looked at a lot of different buildings there. What is it, San Francisco Federal Building,
Mm-hmm.
by, I always say Morphosis. I know it's now Morphosis. I remember him giving a lecture that said Morphosis, and now it's Morphosis. So he morphosized into Morphosis,
As they do. As
as
they,
they
yes.
do. And, got a chance to walk around there. And then people were texting me and they're like, hey, what are you doing? It's just like, I'm ditching out of the conference floor. I'm just going to walk around the city and kind of explore. And they're like, hey, can I like tag along? And so had a couple of other fellow podcasters come along with us, and just a couple of other people. Met a guy from my area here in the Detroit metro area that, we were hanging out a little bit. And so had an opportunity to kind of like just meet up with every handful of people and just like walk around and start
Yeah.
looking around and explore. And it was kind of fun because you said a couple of destinations. A couple of the destinations were the bookstore. They have this wonderful architectural bookstore, which I will find and put the link in the show notes, because for some reason I'm currently blanking on the name of the
That's
bookstore.
how it goes.
But it's
Right.
one of these. It's you walk in there and you look at the prices of some of these books, and you know that you have them in your library, and you're like, wait, that book is worth how much? Because,
Only there, my friend.
well, exactly, because I was just like, can I
Oops.
like, can I sell this to them? Because I don't think that I've cracked that book open in at least a decade. And here they are, they're selling it for $800. And I think I bought it on a subscription. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many books I got from that. And sure enough, I was looking at all of these books, and I will say that the books that you have that I've had sitting in my Amazon wish list, kind of hoping, I guess it's more of a wish list of like wishing that maybe my wife or my kids would catch the hint and buy them for me.
Yeah.
They're actually cheaper at the bookstore. So
Oh,
the case studies book that you have,
yeah. Yeah.
and that, I don't know if you have it or we talked about it at one point in time, but the Neutra book, the really
Yeah.
big, thick.
I've got that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both of those were only $60. And I was just like, I want to walk out with them.
How much are they on Amazon?
I think they're like about,
So you say
they're,
they're more?
they're easily like 20, $30 more.
Well,
Um,
I think I paid $60 for those back in the day on Amazon,
I will
but
say,
I think they've gone up.
yeah, but I will say that the only reason why I didn't take them is because they're heavy. And,
Yeah,
and there was no way I was putting them in my carry-on. Carry-on
they
was
probably
already
ship
heavy
them
enough.
for you.
Yeah, but then they're back to like the Amazon price. And so why?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. Well, because you're supporting local business and us, this thing in the community that's existed for so long. I mean, they actually honored the owner of the bookstore at the last MDC.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he finally retired. Yeah,
Oh, well,
yeah, pretty
I
cool.
mean, it's a beautiful space. You go in there and it
Yeah,
feels like you're at home.
yeah,
It's
that's cool.
just one of these places that, yeah, you go there and you're just like, yeah, this is where at the very least, this is where I'm supposed to be at this point in time.
Meant to be.
Yeah. It was just,
Well, let's talk about one of the other big things that happens at the AIA conference, which is AIA business.
ooh, AIA business,
You
yes.
got to participate in some of the AIA business. So, but
Well,
there's a lot of delegates and voting, and
Yeah.
there's new officers being voted on and roles being filled. And I didn't get to participate in any of that this year. So I know that you did. You were.
Oh, the only
were
thing that I actually wanted to make sure that I did above and beyond any of like that stuff that you're talking about is really just kind of listen to and learn about the process of leadership in AIA, the AIA Pact, all of these different things. And I went to a lot of things that I normally wouldn't have gone to. Sat in on the caucuses and listened to all of the different candidates and listened to basically everybody's impression. And it was really interesting and really kind of eye-opening to listen to all of the different the candidates, as they're presenting their positions to all of the delegates. And really, there was such this interesting difference between all of the different people who are running for the at-large positions, for people who are running for the presidency, really kind of learning about, and I've done this a couple of times. I swear I probably never paid attention in the past, but really starting to get more interested in what really does. And I think it was because of my involvement with AIA Maryland, working on the legislative committee, listening to that over the course of the past couple of years prior to, moving, and really just saying, okay, because we sit there and we always talk about what does AIA do and what does AIA do for us, right? And 9 times out of 10, most people are just like, oh, I don't know. Even some of the candidates were a little like, it's hard to explain, but some of the candidates were basically sitting there saying, oh, well, if you don't really think that the AIA does anything for you. And it was more like they were knocking the positions that they were running for. I'm like,
they were kind of piling on to the comments that were coming from
the
audience. Yeah.
They were. And so what was very interesting about that is just though there were so many different people who were like, I hear you. Some of your biggest concerns are the fees for both your AIA membership dues and the fees to, come to this conference. And so first of all, people had already made peace with the fact, the fees to come to that conference were, relatively high, and because they were there, right? They were listening. Sometimes for like the delegates, sometimes the local chapters pay for them to go, and because they're part of the voting membership or things like that. And then sometimes people just go for whatever. The people who really had a good answer to all of that were the people who ultimately ended up winning the positions. And one of them happened to be a recent interviewee that we didn't get a chance to actually talk to her, Evelyn Lee, her candidacy for the president of AIA. But right. I sat down and I listened to her platform because finally I got an opportunity to listen to her platform. And if there isn't one person who cares more about the AIA and like the direction and the future of the profession that was a candidate, they weren't on the stage. None of them ever came to the stage because she laid out. And the interesting thing is that all these people who were talking about, yeah, we hear you about your concerns about the fees, about both the membership fees, your membership dues, as well as the fees to go to a conference. And she basically laid it out. It was just like, it's based off of the value that you get out of both your membership fees, as well as your attendance to these conferences. And it laid it out in a way to make people understand that, hey, if you want more value, then you need to demand more value. If you want to just have a lesser fee, well, then guess what? You're not really going to get, all you're doing is asking for them to kind of like water down the services that are provided, and really and people don't really understand. And so that was like the goal for what I was doing, is I just wanted to really, we've always said that, a lot of times we've bitched about the AIA, right? We've bitched about what does the AIA do for you and all of this other stuff. I've started to promise myself that if I really actually want to like for myself learn, what does the AIA do for us? What are we getting out of this? What are we, why are we paying all of this money? What can they do? And did I answer all of those questions? No. Still got to keep asking the questions and still got to keep learning. But do I see the value in attending conferences? Absolutely. Do I see the value in a membership? I do. Not 100%, but I do. I'm learning. I'm getting there. And so that was really actually the goal. And so, really, listening to the candidates, listening to what people are identifying as the problems in architecture, in the architectural organization, and what they feel like they can do and accomplish, what the Archispeak, I think that's what it's called, Archispeak,
Right.
what they can do for us, and what the issues that they, stand for. I mean, we've had obviously some interesting, because we've had some conversations about it in the past, about the, things like these tone deaf letters that sometimes the AIA puts out when this moment of national crisis, and we respond and they respond, and you're like, whoa, that's really the position we're going to take. And these are the things that I wanted to learn more about. It's just like, okay, what goes in the decision of doing that? I mean, did somebody say, hey, here's our publicist, and our publicist says that we should say this? And it's like, is that really the message that you think that our, I don't know, what is it, 80, 90,000 members really want to hear? And so those were the kind of things that I wanted to learn about. And so for the first time in a very long time, I wanted to actively listen to what the hell AIA is doing, and actively listen to what I could potentially do to be a part of it, or maybe not, or all of those things.
Yeah. Well, and congrats to Evelyn, who won the vote. And I think what's interesting to me from that point of view, just thinking about it at the bigger picture, is that Evelyn is architecture adjacent. She has been for quite a while now. So what that means is she works for Slack. She doesn't work in an architectural firm or office. And she, I'm totally tearing up here. No, I'm not. I'm just choking. She's outside of architecture, and she brings a different perspective. And I'm in the same boat, or I'm in a similar boat, where I've left the profession, and that's in kind of weird way to say it, but I am now working, what I say is I'm working on the profession instead of in the profession. Right. And I think Evelyn kind of thinks about it similarly, where she wants to make an impact for the future. We do think that the future of this profession deserves to exist in the future. And it needs to exist better. And so she has really strong platform around those ideas. And I think what's really interesting is that she was elected being outside of architecture. And to me, especially coming from the technology side of things, and she's obviously really involved in that side of it as well, working for a company like Slack and communications platform and the things that Slack does, is interesting from, architecture has always been slow to adopt technology and to respond to influence of technology. And now you have a leader who is very involved on that side of things, and I think can help get the message out to architects at a broader scale about the benefits and the pitfalls of technology from a much more understanding point of view about all that.
So what was actually interesting, and so some jerk actually asked this question to the presidents, specifically about their current job, their current role, and how that prepares them for, prepares them for holding office, holding the presidency, and
Mm-hmm.
how that would help shape and guide them in their decisions.
Mm.
And I was that jerk.
Yeah.
It's just for full disclosure. And it, but the thing about it is that there were people who had answered the question as, well, almost as a business as usual type approach. And I think the thing that was wonderful about Evelyn's response specifically. And so now that the election has gone over, she was elected and all of this other stuff, and we weren't allowed to talk about it when she was on the show. I can at least talk about my impressions of like the candidates and everything heard from her.
You were there on a press pass. This is your job, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're doing it.
The thing
You're doing
is
it.
the thing that impressed me the most about when she answered that particular question in comparison to the other candidates is because she works in a field that is really it's technology, yes. And she talked about, the value of emerging technologies within the practice. She talked about, but really it was because of this specific technology that she works on is communication. And that is kind of like the key to her platform is open, clear, concise, understandable, and truthful communication. And it was just like, okay, for me, people are, yes, is architecture in a way broken? Yes, absolutely. So what do we do about it? We've got to talk about it, right? We've got to be open in our communication about it. We've got to be able to have an honest, let me see if I can get the words out, an honest dialogue to move forward. We seem to be so reluctant to have this conversation with ourselves. And so that's what we really needed to have somebody who represents, and maybe it's because she's kind of architectural adjacent now. Now she's not, she's pulled right back into the fold of things, but but being architecture adjacent, she got to step back and see how other people like tech, specifically tech, because that's like the emerging efforts of where the world is going to, right? It's tech-based this, tech-based that. So to really sit there and have this conversation perspective of how other industries are dealing with these similar problems, these similar communication issues, that's what I think is pretty amazing about like the platform. It's just like other people aren't afraid to have this conversation. Other people confront this conversation head on. The thing that we've seen architects, that architects don't do is confront head on all of these issues. We just kind of like somewhat sit idly by and let other people try to solve them for us, right? And so that's the issues that I thought set her apart from all of the other candidates. And so that I was thoroughly impressed with the direction that she has for the AIA. And hopefully people will embrace that direction and embrace her to be able to lead properly and be open about having those conversations.
Agreed. I'm very happy for her. I think that good lighting.
I was going to say, let's not do that.
I'm really happy for Evelyn. Like you said, we couldn't talk about it on the episode that she was on,
right?
But we talked around it, and I think a lot of the ideas that she had been sharing leading up to her eventual election all played a part in. There was a lot of campaigning going on, and it's happening on social media.
Right.
But the issues that she's bringing up are the issues that, like you said, I think people have these conversations in small, fragmented ways.
Yes.
I think what Evelyn, maybe I'm hoping what Evelyn will be able to do is pull them together into a larger but also more singular place for that kind of thing to happen. Because, like you're saying, the conversations are valuable, but they need to be happening kind of in the same place at the same time. And with the fragmenting that we've seen, happening, it just leads to polarization. It leads to a more fragmented industry. And we absolutely don't need that, because I fear that the issues that she was talking about heavily around people leaving the industry to go to greener pastures.
Right.
I mean, raise our hands for those of us who have done something like that, Evelyn included. I think it's like there's a reason why this speaks to so many people, especially the future of our industry, which are the emerging professionals, the people in school, they're coming out of school, and they're like really wondering if they want to go into this field after they've finished a degree in architecture.
Absolutely.
That happens. It's very real. And so I think it's great that she's kind of taking that head on and saying, this is the conversation we need to be having.
Right. Because how do we save the profession, and how do we save and protect the people who are in it, who are coming in it, and who are even leaving?
And I would even frame it as, how do we reinvent the profession? There are some things worth saving, but I think nobody in, well, I shouldn't say nobody. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I don't think a lot of it's not worth saving, because you've got new generations coming in who think very differently, and they are not going to just take it on wholesale and continue the way that it works now. Nope. It's not going to happen. Can we just be real about that and say, look, how are we going to redefine this like Madonna would with a new album, and just say, like, we need reinvention. We need to reinvent architecture for the next generations. What could that look like? We're designers. We should really be able to figure this out and apply this to ourselves. And one of the strong messages, even in that episode that she was on our show, was really talking about that head on and saying, what are we going to do about this? We need to be designing our profession. We are happy to do this for our clients every day of the week. Can we actually do it for ourselves? Of course we can, but will we? I think is the bigger question.
Exactly. And I would encourage people to go and look her up on LinkedIn, because now that the election's over with, you can have a little bit more free conversation about it. And a lot of her more recent posts have been conversations about the platform that she ran on, the conversations that we need to have, kind of some real issues, even bulletized. It's like, here are the things that we need to have conversations about. And they're really interesting, and they're really engaging, and thankfully people are engaging in the conversation. I would encourage more people to go and have that conversation, whether it's with her, with us, with anybody. Have those conversations. Have those conversations with your own firm. Take a look at what is going to be the makeup of the future. What conversations will lead you around that future. Speaking of the future, I do want to kind of like change tack for just a second. And one of the things that I really found interesting in a lot of the tech-based booths that I visited, Enscape, we talked about, SketchUp. We talked to, I'm just trying to go through my memory bank of like, who did I visit, that I wasn't even with you on. In every single one of them, what is their future? AI. AI is their future. We are not going to be, I just want to reiterate that we've had this conversation before. We are not going to be able to get away from it. And so if we're not going to be able to get away from it, which is fine, we're not going to, but you said it, I could have swore that it was something that you coined, and maybe it was, and maybe other people. But when I was at an Enscape event right before the show started, and what their offerings are now, and what are going to be some of their offerings in the future, it was quite exciting. And I would encourage everybody to go to Enscape and to their website and really take a look at what the future holds from Enscape. But, they said that is AI going to be replacing architects? No. It's the architects who use AI who will be replacing architects. And I hear that more and more. First time I heard it was from you. So I honestly...
You didn't hear it from me originally, but yeah, I won't take credit for it. But I think I even heard Evelyn say that. So
Well,
It's
but
definitely going around.
even before that, thankfully, everybody's saying that because
Mm.
everybody is at least preparing people to make people know that the software that we use will have a component of AI as part of it, whether it's our drafting tools, whether it's our presentation tools. I mean, I've sat there and watched videos and I thought I was pretty good at Photoshop, but I haven't used Photoshop in a while. And so I've been watching these videos of what Photoshop can do and like all of the kind of like AI plugins for
The new
Photoshop.
generative fill stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, the new generative fill stuff. And so, of course, what am I going to do? Open up Photoshop and I'm going to start taking a look at it. And I'm like blown away. It was like, where was this when I was working on a deadline and I spent most of my time having to cut
Oh,
out like a background so that I could create some new sky or something like that. The things that we wish we had back in the day that are now coming, I'm just thoroughly impressed with where we're going. And I know that people are afraid of it. I think everybody's afraid because it's going to replace us. It's not
mm.
going to replace, it's not going to replace the value of us. It's going to replace the things that we do that we hate doing. That's what it's going to replace.
If you do boring shit, it will replace you. Yeah.
Okay. You said it far more succinctly than I did. But yes, that.
I mean, if you do the mundane stuff that it can do in 3 seconds, that takes you hours to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Bye bye.
Now I will say it was because of you, but you I had given you an email that was written and distributed, and I was just like, pretty sure there's a better way to write this or handle this. And you threw it into Chat GPT and basically, very similar prompts, very similar tone, but whatever other prompts that you had put in there made it actually sound far better. It was like, if I'm going to deliver bad news, what is the best, what is the easier way for me to deliver that bad news? And sure enough, I've gotten a couple of other emails that I've kind of like, run through there just as like, how would you respond to this? Give you a couple of prompts of, I want it to be stern, firm, but kind of like,
What's the difference between stern and firm?
stern. I don't know. I just started, I honestly just started throwing in a bunch of words that basically said, stand firm with the tone of your original email, at least kind of like be open to listening to them, even though, for lack of a better term, you definitely don't agree with, what they're saying and kind of like the direction that they want to go. And so I'm like, I know how I would respond to it. And sometimes I need somebody else to like proof it, just say, maybe you should do this or maybe you should do that. So I had Chat GPT proof it for me. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like a far better way to respond to it than I was going to, with no colorful word enhancers.
That was what unnecessary intensifiers. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, overall, great show. Looking forward to next year for sure. Looking forward to it being. No, I'm not looking forward to it being on the East Coast. I have to say, because there were so many of those in a row. I know you are. It was nice watching you suffer in my time zone for once.
Actually, the funny thing is that, so I went to bed. So the first night that we were there together, and so I'd gone to bed on West Coast time, but woke up on East Coast time. I'm like, really? Why are you doing this to me, this body? But
right.
Got
wasn't
into
too bad.
It wasn't too bad. Not that big of a deal. But yes, next year we'll be in DC again. And hopefully a lot of the things that are going on construction wise at Smithsonian, one of my firm's clients, so I can say with some level of confidence that a lot of the things that are going on at the Smithsonian's will be done in time. And
Nice.
they're very exciting changes.
We could spend the whole time there.
Oh,
I could.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like, do we extend it? Maybe stay like a whole. You've got family on that.
My wife already has said she's not interested in going. So
Well, she doesn't have to go to.
my family's moving away from there.
Yeah,
I'm basically going to be shuttling around by you
via me.
and on your itinerary. So
Yeah.
we'll have to chat some more about it. But
I
I'm looking
guarantee
forward
you
to
we're
it.
going to be going to the Glenstone, and I guarantee you
Oh
we're
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And I guarantee that we've got to do the Glenstone visit, like not on an architectural tour. Like just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Another.
We just have to enjoy it on our own, have our
Yeah.
own self-guided. It's a wonderful place. And then I'm just looking forward to just being back, and we'll make it. I've already like offered up that I'll be pairing up with a couple of people and giving some like tours and do some like nighttime monument tours and stuff like that.
How much do you charge?
I don't charge anything. I
This is
need to get together with AIA National and tell them that I'm free to do it, but not free to do it. Like,
well, and their building's right there too. And I think I heard that their
Ooh,
remodeling is
yes.
supposed to be done by then as well.
Yeah. And that's
Cool.
that's an exciting change as well. So a lot of it in DC is DC. There's so much to do, so much to see.
Too much to do. Yep.
Too much to do, too much to see, and do an actual conference. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sign up for anything. Forget it. I'm just not.
I mean, that you actually can do that. You actually can just go and not sign up for anything and just let it be serendipity.
It's literally going to be social hour for me. That and the fact that I'm going to probably have to go to the office at least, maybe I'll go to the office like the week before and just stay there for 2 weeks and conference as well.
There you go.
See?
Very cool.
Got
it all figured out, man. All right. Well, good chatting with you.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Great show.